rain never stops. It beats against my walls, slipping through cracks in my once proud stone, pooling on the floors where grand footsteps used to echo. I remember the days of sunshine, when warmth poured through my tall windows and laughed against of my polished marble floors. I was a masterpiece then, a grand hotel, the Imperial, sat upon the shoreline at this long-forgotten seaside resort. In times gone, I drew people from across our island nation to marvel at my Gothic splendor, to dance in my ballroom and gaze at the endless sea. But now I stand in ruin. The world outside has become a wasteland of grey, wet despair, and the relentless rain has turned everything to rot. Rain often frequented this coastline, but something changed. Whispers of a climate emergency, a warming planet, and the once-in-a-while downpour became permanent. My gutters overflowing with the constant deluge. Society collapsed. Crops failed due to flood water, and the people left. I remained a crumbling ruin. On my frontage, the letters of my name fell. Yet I persist. I am the Imperial, and my walls are still providing shelter, though they sag with the weight of time and neglect. Inside he walks through my empty halls, his heavy boots thudding on floors that were once polished to a gleam. He clings to me as a sanctuary, and I protect them as best I can. I feel every step, every creak of the old wooden stairs as he moves through me, always vigilant, always ready to defend. This man, Samuel, he patrols my halls as a guardian, keeping out the desperate souls who would do anything for the treasure sacked in my bowels. People are no longer interested in precious metals or gleaming jewels. Instead, the treasure is sustenance. Food to last decades sits within my larder, stored in boxes piled high, together with gas canisters to ignite my ovens. He's rigged me with traps, with bottles that shatter in the night if someone tries to sneak in. Just outside my walls, he has constructed a barricade of junk to hinder anyone that may seek to take what is his. I sense his tension, the way he listens for intruders, ready to fight for the small bits of life they've managed to hold on to within my decaying walls. Evelyn is upstairs, in what was once my finest room, the bridal suite with its sweeping view of the sea. She was once as lively as the sun that used to shine through my windows, but now she lies frail and weak, the rain and damp having invaded her lungs and stolen her strength. Samuel tends to her with a tenderness that softens the edges of this harsh new world. I feel his presence beside her, the weight of his love as he cares for her, and I try to offer what comfort I can through the shelter of my walls, though I am no longer the refuge I once was. He feeds her nourishing soup, heated up in my kitchens, with an oven hooked up to the gas canisters I have in storage. She looks upon him gratefully as he brings the spoon to her lips. I watch over them as the storm outside rages on, the sea churning and flooding the promenade below. Once I glimpsed the moon through a break in the clouds, a fleeting moment of beauty that I treasure in the midst of this endless grey. Samuel, too, finds moments of peace within my walls, resting in the chair by the window as the rain lulls him to sleep. But peace is a fleeting thing now, and danger lurks outside my crumbling doors. The desperates come, drawn by the promise of food, and I brace myself for the violence that always follows. Tonight I sense them, intruders, slipping past the broken barriers outside. Samuel hears it too, the sound of a bottle smashing, and he moves through me with purpose, descending the grand staircase. I want to warn him of the runes in the hearts of these thieves, but he is duped into investigating the noise. He leaves Evelyn alone, asleep on her bed, and as his bulky frame descends through the darkness to the lobby, I feel the sharp hook latch upon the balcony outside her window. Tension pervades the damp atmosphere as he confronts the intruder in my lobby, a thin, starving man with a knife, desperate and dangerous. I watch as Samuel tries to reason with him, demanding that he leaves, but the man's hunger has driven him to desperation. But then, as Samuel hears a cry of alarm from the room above, the thief looks back with a wicked grin. Taking the stairs 2 at a time, Samuel rushes back up the grand staircase to his beloved Evelyn. Bursting into the suite, he sees her on the bed, eyes wide with fear, as a second thief holds a shiv to her throat. The assailant spits a threat to the large man, the meaning clear. "Give us all your food, or she won't last the night." For a moment, an oppressive silence descends upon them, broken only by the sound of constant rainfall against my walls. The skinny intruder followed Samuel up the stairs, ready to be taken to my larder. Speaking to his accomplice, he agrees to shout a warning should Samuel try anything. Evelyn will be dead before Samuel could return. He now had no alternative, and yet, in Samuel's mind, the theft of their food would also be a death sentence. Evelyn's fragile health and the cold wetness of my dilapidation meant they needed the sustenance to warm their bodies, but Samuel was nothing if not patient. He would bide his time. He would wait for the right opportunity, and he had no compunction about spilling their blood upon my rotten floorboards. Samuel descends to the lobby. I can feel the weight of his decision hanging in the air, thick and heavy like the clinging dampness. He's made his choice. I know him well enough by now to recognize that he's ready for violence, that he sees no other way. His traps lay set all around. They are simple things but deadly. Broken glass in the hallways, sharpened metal hidden beneath soaked carpets, and, deep in the heart of my larder, an empty old gas canister suspended high, mated to a tripwire. He has planned for this moment. He has prepared. The intruders have not. I feel him pause in the centre of my lobby, just beneath the grand chandelier that once cast brilliant light over the elegant parties, where men and women danced and laughed and whispered secrets to one another. It hangs dark and lifeless, as dim as the world outside. Samuel's breath is steady, but I know him well enough to sense the storm growing inside him. He is listening, waiting, as the rain continues to fall in steady sheets against the glass. The skinny intruder moves cautiously, wary of Samuel's intent, and yet confident that he would not risk the life of his beloved. I feel every step they take, every shift of weight on my old floorboards. The invader is thin, starving, his movements sharp and desperate. I sense the blade in his hand, ready to strike, a crude weapon fashioned from scrap metal. He has nothing left but this moment, this one chance to take what he needs to survive. They reach the larder, deep in my bowels, where the air is damp and thick with the smell of rust and decay. The larder has metal walls to preserve the contents, to keep them fresh. No sound can come from within. Once this room is filled with the finest delicacies, imported cheeses, wines and spices from distant lands, stored here for my guests to enjoy as they looked out over the sparkling sea. Now, it is a cold, dark place, where boxes of preserved food are stacked high, and death waits in the shadows. Samuel stops at the entrance, and the intruder steps inside, his eyes dancing around, searching for his prize. He doesn't see the trap, or the tripwire that Samuel set days ago. The man takes another step forward, eager to claim what is his, and his scarf is snagged on the tripwire. The falling steel canister strikes the side of his skull. The intruder is thrown against the far wall, his body crumpling in a heap. Rushing inside, Samuel grabs the empty canister and lifts it over his head, ready to deliver the killing blow. But it is not necessary. The thief is already dead. Dropping the canister, Samuel lifts the body easily and removes it from the larder. As quietly as possible, he places it in a disused room, where the blood mingles with the pools springing from my leaky ceilings. Samuel stands for a moment, breathing heavily. He turns and leaves, climbing back up the stairs, his mind already on the second intruder, the one holding Evelyn captive. I feel his resolve harden with every step he takes. his body moving with a purpose. He cannot lose her, not after everything. He reaches the suite, and the door swings open. Inside, Evelyn lies on the bed, pale and fragile, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The second intruder is standing over her, a crude shape still held to her throat. The man looks up as Samuel enters, fear growing in his eyes as he realizes his partner is gone. For a moment, everything is still. The only sound is the rain, beating against the windows, a steady, relentless rhythm that fills the room with its oppressive weight. Samuel stands in the doorway, his eyes locked on the man who holds Evelyn's life in his hands. Then, something shifts. I feel it in the air, a subtle change in the tension that hangs between them. The intruder senses it too, and for a brief moment, his grip on the ship falters as he realizes he is now alone. The intruder hesitates, his eyes flicking between Samuel and Evelyn. He seems to be weighing his options, calculating the risks. If he kills her, he will die. He now knows this. The chance of getting any food has evaporated. The best he can hope for is to escape. My bridal suite has a door connecting the next bedroom. Sensing the changing of the tide, the thief decides to run. In a flash, he dives towards the door and vanishes into the room beyond. Samuel cannot let this stand. If he manages to escape, he will be back. He will return more prepared as hunger drives desperation. He cannot leave. He must be punished, lest my position weaken. Before pursuing, Samuel checks Evelyn. She is shaken, but otherwise unharmed. Her shattered fragility fuels his rage. The thief has a head start, but Samuel's knowledge of my layout played to his advantage. The adjacent room just led back out to the corridor, so I return to the landing at the top of the grand staircase. The thief bursts from the room and halts as they lock eyes. He reverses and flees away from Samuel, heading into my labyrinth of rooms and corridors, hoping to find another exit. Giving chase, Samuel's heavy-set footsteps clumped over the wooden flooring. At the end of the corridor, a fire escape staircase led to the ground floor, but it lies blocked with old bed frames and furniture, Samuel deliberately restricting the entryways to my livable areas. It forces the thief upstairs, his legs rabbiting. On his heels, Samuel follows close behind. The thief turns and throws his shiv at Samuel. The large man dodges, but then slips on the damp surface, bounding forward onto my steps. The blade misses, but Samuel takes a heavy fall. Winded, he curses under his breath, before pushing himself up, then resuming the hunt. With his pursuer delayed, the thief manages to put a few seconds between them. He continues to climb, hoping to reach the roof, perhaps to find a place he could climb down and flee. On my top floor, however, he finds the deluge damage extensive. The permanent downpour finds entryway everywhere, turning what were once the quarters for my staff into a series of rain-fed waterfalls. Splashing through the puddles, he finds a place to hide in one of the derelict's rooms. Samuel breathes heavily as he reaches the top floor. Stopping, he listens for any telltale signs of his quarry's whereabouts. A splash or an interruption to the flow of water onto rotten wood, but all he hears is the sound of flooding. Walking steadily and catching the breath in his lungs, Samuel begins his search. Knowing that I had no other exits from this floor, he knew the thief had to be here somewhere. The water falls onto his long, unkempt hair, getting into his eyes and pooling in his ear canals. If only I could cry out a warning as he approaches the spot where the intruder hides in wait, wooden plank in hand, ready to strike. But it is too late. As Samuel peers into a neighbouring room, the thief strikes. He brings the plank down hard upon Samuel's shoulders, and it splinters into 1,000 shards. The large man collapses to my floor with a grunt, his head spinning as he verges on the edge of consciousness, his body and limbs failing him as he lies helpless. The thief is away, back the way he came. With Samuel out of action, he can take all the food he can carry. Maybe he will even fulfill his threat to Evelyn as punishment for Samuel's actions. We bind him with the harsh, unforgiving world we now live in. Samuel tries to raise himself, but stumbles as the pain overwhelms him. But even in this rain-soaked world, I can still offer benevolence to my patrons. As the intruder makes his way back to the staircase, his feet find a weak spot on the floorboards, a place where the water leaks pounded my construction. The damaged flooring gives way under his weight, and with a cry, he falls. The descending water, obeying gravity, are a precursor to the falling thief, and as he lands on the floor below, that too gives way, the flood following his vertical crash through my bones. Onward he falls, striking into every floor, the force of his descent growing with every level he smashes. Finally, through a fog of dust, wood, masonry, and rain splash, he crashes through the high ceiling of my ballroom, landing with a sickening thud on the remains of the old piano. Back on the top floor, Samuel comes around and drags himself up, with his hands climbing the exposed wood panelling in my walls. Walking over to the hole in the ground, he looks gingerly down through the vertical drop to the body several floors below. Careful of his own footing, he reaches the stairs and returns to Evelyn. Tears of relief spring from her eyes as she sees him, flowing down her cheeks like the rain on my windows, and he embraces her. As the dawn breaks, as they find comfort in each other's presence, and, for the first time in months, the clouds shift momentarily, parting to provide a shaft of golden morning sunlight as it breaks over the coast, to shine through their window and into their suite. A calmness descends upon them. They are safe for the moment.